Rick Ness may be known today as one of the bold faces of Discovery Channel's gold rush, but behind the fame, behind the roaring machinery and the glittering gold, lies a story scarred by heartbreak, tragedy, and survival. His journey is not simply about digging up wealth from the ground, it is about clawing his way out of darkness, carrying the weight of unimaginable loss, and finding strength in the very moments when it seemed he had none left to give. A childhood marked by separation. Rick Ness was born on March 5, 1981, in Schnabel, Michigan, alongside his twin brother Randy. His parents, Richard Ness and Judy Marie Bedard, separated when he was just a child. For many, childhood is a time of stability and warmth, but Rick's early years were shaken by the disintegration of his family. His mother eventually moved to Rhinelander, Michigan, and Rick would later join her there in 2003. The bond he shared with Judy became the foundation of his life, a relationship that would later make his greatest tragedy all the more devastating. Surrounded by the grit and grind of his father's construction business, Rick's childhood was also filled with the thunder of engines and the rumble of heavy machinery. At the time, he never imagined that these early experiences would one day prepare him for a future in the Yukon, but life, as it would prove, had plans of its own. Dreams shattered too soon. Rick's teenage years were full of ambition and energy. A sports enthusiast, he graduated from Schnabel Area High School in 1999 and pursued football with the hope of going professional. He lived for the game. But in a cruel twist of fate, a head injury abruptly ended his dream. For a young man who saw football as his ticket to the future, the loss was devastating, a painful reminder that sometimes life can take away the very thing you love in the blink of an eye. Refusing to be defined by one setback, Rick turned to music. In 2003, he became the bass player for the .357 string band. The group achieved modest success, releasing 3 albums and even touring across the world. For a time, it seemed like Rick had found a new path. But deep down, he was still searching for something more, a place where his restless energy and determination could truly be put to the test. A chance encounter that changed everything. That opportunity came unexpectedly. At the Southeast Alaska State Fair, Rick crossed paths with a young miner named Parker Schnabel. Though he had no mining experience, Rick's background with heavy equipment and his undeniable drive caught Parker's attention. Months later, Parker offered him a spot on his crew. Rick joined Gold Rush in Season 3, starting out as a rock truck and excavator operator. With his tireless work ethic, he quickly became Parker's right-hand man. Fans loved his no-sleeves style, his humor, and his grit. Eventually, he was promoted to foreman, entrusted with leading Parker's Indian River operation. But leadership came with its own trials, and after a costly mistake that left Parker frustrated, Rick was pushed to consider striking out on his own. And he did. In Season 9, Rick Ness formed his own mining crew. Against all odds, he set a new record for the most gold mined by a first-year mine boss. For Rick, it was vindication, proof that he could stand on his own 2 feet, no longer in anyone's shadow. The loss that broke him. But behind the cameras, Rick was fighting a battle that fans couldn't see. On March 20, 2018, his beloved mother Judy passed away at just 55 years old after a battle with cancer. Rick had spent 15 years by her side, and losing her tore a hole in his life that nothing could fill. Rick later admitted that he never had the chance to properly grieve. Work and life moved forward, but his heart was stuck in the past. The pain of losing the most important person in his world pushed him into a spiral. Depression crept in, and drugs became a way to numb the unbearable grief. For a man who had always been strong, independent, and proud, it was a descent into darkness that nearly consumed him. Even the family home became a haunting reminder. For years, Rick couldn't bring himself to walk through the front door. Every room, every piece of furniture carried the weight of memory. Eventually, he forced himself to face it, packing his mother's belongings, holding on to a few precious items, and selling the house. It was a heartbreaking choice, but Rick convinced himself it was the only way to move forward. He told himself that his mother would want him to use the house as a tool to rebuild his life. But deep down, it was not just a financial decision, it was the final goodbye he had never been ready to make. By the time season 13 of Gold Rush rolled around, Rick disappeared from the show. Doctors suggested he was suffering from seasonal affective disorder, a form of depression that strips away interest in the things you once loved. But Rick knew the truth was deeper. The years of unhealed grief, the emotional and financial collapse after his mother's death, and the self-destructive choices he had made all came crashing down at once. For Rick, admitting weakness was harder than facing the unforgiving Yukon. He had grown up with the belief that men never asked for help. That silence nearly destroyed him. But instead of hiding, Rick chose to be honest. He admitted his struggles publicly, his depression, his addiction, his loss of confidence. And in that honesty, he began to heal. Rick Ness' physical changes spark rumors and speculation among Gold Rush fans. When Gold Rush season 15 premiered, fans were quick to notice that Rick Ness, the minor-turned-fan-favorite reality star, looked different. While Ness has long been a familiar face on the Discovery series, sharp-eyed viewers pointed out that his facial features, particularly his nose, appeared changed. The subtle but distinct transformation has since fueled conversations, speculation, and rumors across fan communities. When Ness finally came back in season 14, audiences were relieved but also intrigued. By season 15, those same viewers began commenting on the noticeable changes in his physical appearance. His nose in particular drew attention, sparking whispers online about whether it was the result of an injury, a medical issue, or something else entirely. While Ness himself has not addressed the changes directly, it's important to recognize the personal battles he has faced in recent years. The death of his mother in 2018 left a wound that never fully healed, and Ness has been open about how the loss sent him spiraling into depression. He admitted to struggling with confidence, isolation, and even substance use as he tried to cope with the overwhelming grief. Such emotional struggles can leave lasting marks, not only mentally but physically. The stress of depression, the cycles of poor health habits, and the grueling demands of gold mining can all contribute to visible changes in appearance. For Ness, whose life has been lived in front of cameras for more than a decade, even the smallest differences are amplified under the public eye. It's also worth noting that Rick Ness is now in his mid-40s. As with anyone, natural aging brings changes in skin tone, weight distribution, and facial structure. Mining is an unforgiving profession, demanding long hours in harsh environments. Combine that with the weight fluctuations Ness has experienced over the years, and it becomes easier to understand why his face might look different from the early seasons of Gold Rush. Despite the mounting curiosity, Rick Ness has not publicly explained the specific reasons for his physical changes. Without an official statement, fans are left to speculate. For some, that silence only fuels rumors. For others, it's a reminder that Ness deserves privacy, especially after everything he has endured. Whatever the reasons behind Rick Ness' transformation, one truth remains: his story has always been about resilience. He has faced the crushing weight of personal tragedy, financial collapse, and mental health struggles, yet he continues to fight his way back. For fans, his physical appearance may have changed, but the strength and determination that made him a fan favorite on Gold Rush are still very much intact. In the end, Rick Ness' journey serves as a reminder that life leaves marks on us all, some visible, others hidden. For Ness, those changes are not just a matter of appearance, they are the scars of survival, resilience, and a relentless drive to keep moving forward. Redemption and return. The road back wasn't smooth. There were moments when old demons resurfaced, when setbacks in mining threatened to drag him under again. But Rick held on to one truth: he had succeeded before, and he could do it again. That belief became his anchor, reminding him of his own strength. Rick says the key to his recovery is balance, knowing when to be unshakable, but also when to be vulnerable. That balance brought him clarity. It gave him purpose. And it gave him the courage to step back into the spotlight. When Rick Ness returned in Gold Rush season 15, fans saw not just a miner, but a man who had stared into the abyss and come back stronger. His success in the season was not only about gold, it was about redemption. Proof that even when life shatters everything you've built, it is possible to rebuild, brick by brick, ounce by ounce. Rick Ness's story is not simply about mining. It's about the human spirit. From his parents' divorce, to the collapse of his football dreams, to the death of his mother and his battle with depression, Rick has lived through tragedies that could have broken anyone. And yet, time and again, he has risen. He doesn't hide his scars. He embraces them. And in doing so, he shows that strength is not the absence of pain, it is the ability to keep going in spite of it. Rick Ness may be a miner on Gold Rush, but his greatest discovery has been within himself, the unbreakable will to survive, to fight, and to live again.